Peace for Our Time was a declaration made by Prime Minister Chamberlain on September 30th, 1938, after the Munich Agreement, when they pretty much gave up uh, a large chunk of Czechoslovakia. They gave in to the dictator and basically declared, this is how you make peace. This is how you negotiate, and this is how you ensure there's not going to be any conflict. Of course, just a year later, Hitler attacked Poland, and that's how World War II started. And this specific moment is referred to often when it comes to appeasement and basically appeasing dictators, appeasing dictatorships of any kind. Yet, no matter how many times it's brought up, people never learn and people still do it again. And I think it's even more important to realize it when it comes to Hezbollah. Uh, Welcome to the Daily Objective. I'm Daniel. Today it's gonna look like it's gonna be a solo episode, so I might need your help. I might need a bunch of your comments to move me along, but I have a lot of things to say. And today we'll be talking about Hezbollah. We'll also be talking about Hezbollah on TRS since it's pretty much the main topic at the moment. But on the Daily Objective, we're gonna focus specifically on Cyprus and what and some of the most recent news. Thank you, Jonathan, for your super chat. So I have a couple of quotes for you and a couple of really interesting observations. So follow me along. The first one is so basically what's happening is that Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah, I always forget what exactly the specific title is, but basically the person who leads Hezbollah is uh, is in a sense threatening Cyprus that in the event of war between Israel and Hezbollah, if they support Israel in any way, and Hezbollah is already suspecting that Cyprus is helping, let's say, maybe uh, conducting some exercises with the IDF, or uh, the army of Cyprus is conducting exercises with the IDF, and basically is threatening to launch an attack against Cyprus if they do anything, uh, if they seem, if they even seem like they are trying to help Israel in any way. So basically, in response of that, the Lebanon's government, which is not Hezbollah, at least that's what I've heard, is trying to basically maintain the friendly relationship with Cyprus, since there's a long history of basically pretty close and good or relatively good relationships between Lebanon and Cyprus, and Hezbollah is definitely breaking it up. So basically, the Lebanese government is trying to maintain the friendly relationship, while a part of their government, since Hezbollah is actually in the government, is threatening to attack Cyprus should the country allow Israel to use, and I think it's Cypriot or Cypriot territory to launch a strike. Of course, there's nothing like that. There's no like treaty between Israel and Cyprus that would argue for and or would basically necessitate anything like this. Uh, but again, so first I want to discuss a little bit about this idea that yeah, Hezbollah is threatening on one side, but yeah, Lebanon is like trying to maintain a friendly relationships, and why this is such a problematic issue. So we already had an episode called Lebanon is Hezbollah, in so just to summarize it a bit, in which I mainly argued that uh uh, that yeah, Hezbollah is, I mean, is controlling a large part of Lebanon, and is actually in the government. They are actually the most popular party. Um, I think when it comes to seats, they are like the third most popular because of the way Lebanese elections like different local elections, and you also have like specific seats for uh Christians. I think even specific titles for Christian. I think it's always that the president is I might mix it up, but I think it could be like president is always Christian and prime minister is always Muslim. It could be the other way around. Uh but it's similar to this. But they are the most popular. They won the popular vote. So large part of Lebanon is friendly to Hezbollah, is friendly to their ideas, is friendly to their dedication to eradication of Israel, which is pretty much why they have been founded. They have been founded to sort of resist Israel, but basically to try to drive Israel out of their country, or not out of their country, out of Middle East. uh, and even if it was, since I think when it was created, I think for a little bit Israel was occupying a small part of Lebanon, uh, but again, Israel is the only legitimate country in the region, so you cannot, Hezbollah doesn't get justification. uh, uh, Hezbollah doesn't get justification just because, they have been created and someone else is here. You need something more. I would, I'm going on a tangent, but you need the belief for individual rights, the belief that individuals have rights, and your goal or your purpose as a government is to protect them. That's the only legitimacy, and in that sense, Hezbollah has zero legitimacy. Okay, so just to continue on this, uh, yeah, the fact that you have this sort of split, like this is Hezbollah and this is Lebanon. Uh, yeah, so just to finish that, basically, I think there are uh good forces within Lebanon, at least from what I've seen. There seem to be like anti-Hezbollah political parties, political movements, any sort of movements. Even some parts of the government seem like they want to get rid of Hezbollah. Uh, but again, as I've said last time, now's the time, and the time to do it is to, yeah, go strongly against Hezbollah. Basically, even Lebanon should call them a terrorist organization and basically, yeah, refuse to work with them anymore. If they hope to, uh, i- yeah, if they hope to survive, you cannot expect that you have this like terrorist organization within your borders, uh, living and being actually part of the government, and you cannot expect that the international community will look at you as if you're not complicit. Again, this is not just some insurgent group that you cannot possibly root out. No, they do get seats in the government. They do get uh, I think they control like two ministries, so they do get power from the Lebanese government. And I think if Lebanon is uh, is not going to do anything about it, someone else will. Um, so just to continue, I'm going to be reading a little bit from the article. Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah warned Cyprus in a rare threat not to allow Israel's military to use its airports on the island to bomb Lebanon should a full-blown war break out between Israel and Iran, Iran-backed Hezbollah, and also Gerard in the chat says they're basically a proxy force for Iran. And yeah, that is true. They have been, I mean, they got their name from the original Ayatollah Khomeini. I'm always confused how their names work. But yeah, this threat is coming again out of nowhere, and it shows you how these dictatorships work. Especially since, as I said, Lebanon and Cyprus have good relationship. Yeah, this threat is coming out of completely nowhere. It's just the fact that, yeah, you are not being completely antagonistic to Israel. You have uh, Cyprus and Israel are have good relations since they are uh, unlike other countries in the Middle East, they are not poised to destroy Israel. This is not the pretty much the only function of their government. Cyprus, is in the EU, is relatively Western country, and again, that's the problem for Hezbollah. Just the fact that they are not completely antagonistic to Israel is bad enough for them that they suspect them on working with Israel, since they obviously cannot imagine any country would want positive relationship with Israel. So continuing, the Cypriot government should be careful that opening the airports and bases in Cyprus for the Israeli enemy to target Lebanon means that the Cypriot government has become part of the war, Nasrallah said. The resistance, Hezbollah, will deal with it, Cyprus, as part of the war. Uh, and again, this sort of double standard, which is actually the second thing I want to talk about, and I don't even want to talk about like the hypocrisy or the double standard part, but the fact that if the Cypriot government will open its airports and bases in Cyprus for the Israeli army, that it means they are part of the war. Then what is Lebanon? What is Lebanon in that scenario? It is part of the war. It, so any people arguing that, yeah, Lebanon is this sort of like separate thing from Hezbollah, it is not. It is providing its bases. They are within their territory, attacking Israel on daily basis and strongly, and we'll continue talking about this on the reality show, how the West and specifically Anthony Blinken is responding to this. But yeah, many people and I think this is the big problem of uh, things like the United Nations. And now you'll have to follow me for a second. This idea that basically all nations are equal, that all nations are equally legitimate, have equal right to uh, to the have equal like right to the jurisdiction of the area they control. You could be United States that has been founded, that has been created from what was at the moment the freest country in the world, most likely, and I'm talking about the United Kingdom. In the 1700s was probably the freest nation you could live in. Uh, so they broke away from the freest nations to create even more free nation. So this nation based on idea, this is basically the same thing as a bunch of thugs in, let's say, when the United Nations was founded, a bunch of communist thugs in St. Petersburg taking over a different kind of thug, the Tsar taking over militarily, and then killing large amounts of people, mainly their opposition, any kind of opposition they could find. These two nations are basically the same and will actually give them the same power and actually give them the same strong power. Will put them on the Security Council, and so they have equal power over each other. And I think what this has created is this sort of moral relativism when it comes to the international community, the international countries. Basically, all countries are equal, and there is no way to decide against them. Basically, the thing is either good or bad, and if it's good, everyone can do it, and if it's bad, no one can do it. Or even if it's bad, the good guys cannot do it, and the bad guys can. And uh, what actually made me realize this a little bit is there's been this visit from there's been a visit from uh, Putin. He actually went to North Korea, and apparently they signed some sort of defense treaty. Some people were uh, what you call it, were connecting it, let's say, uh, connecting it to NATO, and it's basically the same thing. And so everyone has been saying, well, what's the problem with Russia and North Korea doing it if the United States can? And here again, it's this sort of complete moral relativism. North Korea that is threatening, I mean, is actually uh there are cases where they've been just sending like rockets into the ocean just to say, okay, we can at any point we can attack any country in the region. They've been posturing, and other country, Russia, which is actually actively engaging in trying to take over a sovereign nation. These countries are basically the same as the United States. Why? Because they both were in the war at some point, and this is basically what you see. So when it comes to dictatorships, there is no standard. They can do anything. They can get away with anything, and they will get away with anything unless there is something that pushes back against them. And what we haven't seen is that pushback. Again, Hezbollah has been getting away with murder, and actually we have a couple chats from Razi, so let's just quickly read them. So Razi says, some are more equal than others. Every time an Israeli tries to block the road for a truck on its way to feed the terrorists in Gaza, it's headline news and Israel is blamed. Lebanon, on the other hand, is literally getting away with murder. And yeah, I think, and since we have some time, I can either cover this because I've been trying to develop also this idea. And I think it is because these countries are good. Because you can only I'm trying to remember who came up with this idea, but basically, when it comes to the International Criminal Court, you know, there were warrants for Netanyahu, or at least I'm not sure if they actually have issued them, but there were potential warrants against Netanyahu and Gallant. Uh, or maybe even speaking more broadly, we could talk about ICJ because in that one, Israel has actually submitted themselves to the court, which is actually the only way the court can make a ruling. And what has happened is that Israel is actually being criticized for even submitting. Basically gave fuel, gave the moral, what's called the moral sanction, basically giving them the authority to judge them. So Israel can now be judged and is being suspected of plausible genocide, which many people have been uh, basically using as they are committing genocide and basically fully going on with it. But when it comes to something like what is China doing with the Uyghurs, since China is not a signatory to any of these, you cannot take them to court, and therefore you cannot criticize them. And it's the same way because Israel is giving in to the international community so much. Again, as Razi said, allowing the aid in to feed the terrorists, making sure um, whenever they bomb in a place, they let people know beforehand. They uh, do the uh, on the rooftop of the buildings. They do like the uh, uh I don't remember the term for it, but basically they drop like a small bomb that basically doesn't destroy anything, just informs people we're gonna bomb here soon, get the hell out, which of course allows the roof knock, thank you, which of course allows the terrorists to get out, and oftentimes it allows them to force the civilians to stay. Um, so when they do this, basically again gives the moral sanction to the idea that they have to do this to conduct the war properly. And so what happens is when they don't do it, with an example such as the rescue operation, which was probably one of the greatest operation ever, and I don't think from the to the extent I understand how it exactly went down, I don't think I have any problem with the way it was conducted. It was really, in a sense, pro-Israeli in the fact that, yeah, we're going in, we're saving our people, and we're not going to give in. We're not going to risk we're not going to risk any of the hostage life or soldiers' life just to protect the Palestinians. Uh, so to that extent, I think it was a very good operation. But again, what have we seen in the media? Well, why didn't you warn them? Why didn't you make sure there wouldn't be any Palestinian casualties? And again, this is created because Israel gives in so many times. Uh, we also have more. So also thank you, Bonnie, for your super chat. Thank you, Chandler, for your super chat. One of the analysts of the Times of Israeli podcast made a great point here. Mainly, the Israeli belief in law ensure their prosecution. So I don't think that's the problem. I don't think the problem is that Israel believes in the rule of law, that the fact that they were allowed to be prosecuted. It's the fact that they believe in this idea of international law, which I could imagine it in some sense existing at some point, but the way it is right now, it is being exclusively used, uh, uh, or maybe not exclusively used, but it is used very much against any sort of rational defense, any sort of, not even rational, and any sort of defense for of the free country against dictatorships. So the idea of international law is always being used against countries such as Israel, and will never be used fully against any of the dictatorships again, because they require the actual peaceful submission, which you'll never see from this dictatorship. Again, and that's why it's such a invalid thing to exist. Um, so let me just see if there are any more interesting chats. The idea of warning your enemies beforehand during warfare is insane. Yeah, uh, but yeah, this is the sort of standard that is required if, again, you want to be moral, and we have talked about this a lot, and the fact that Israel is playing into that by claiming they're the most moral army in the world for all the wrong reasons is, again, making it impossible for them to actually defend themselves. If you watch any of the UN Watch clips with the current proceedings with Hillel Neuer, you can see this lawfare at work. Don't see any Hamas or Hezbollah representatives under scrutiny, but Israel is at least present and being responsible, whereas the terrorists don't have any justification for their actions. I don't think so. I don't know about this specifically, but I don't think Israel should have shown at the international uh, international law of justice in, well, the court of justice, the international court of justice. Again, because it the even the premise is wrong. The fact that it is about the fact that Israel, if Israel is committing genocide in Gaza, or the premise is so wrong that even just showing up is completely uh, giving in, uh, giving in to their moral standard. Uh, and also in that sort of a court, I don't think there's any way to basically disprove that you are committing a genocide. There's always, I mean, as long as some people die, there's always going to be someone always can make a case for you that you're making a genocide. And I think it's a problem, the fact that this word has been so diluted. And with that, I think I mostly covered everything I want. We might talk about Cyprus in the future, since this I've seen this in the stories for a little bit, so we just wanted to give a small heads up about what's sort of going on. But I think this might develop, especially if we actually see an Israeli response to uh, if we actually see an Israeli response to Hezbollah, which I am hoping for, and is actually something we will be talking about on the reality show, which I'll be also joining. I just want to give you the link. Uh, the episode is titled Anthony Blinken on How to Save the Terrorists. Uh, it's basically, so this news stories came out. The news story came out that basically he's arguing to find um, diplomatic solution to this conflict. Something he has said is that Blinken thinks the sheer number of Israelis who have been displaced from their homes in the north is reason for Israel to avoid war. So basically, since they've already displaced so many people, we might as well give up and basically never defend ourselves. So I'm posting the uh, link in the chat. We'll be going live in about 5 minutes. I'm hoping to see you there. Thank you everyone for watching today, and see you in a bit. Bye bye.